Hello everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and host of the weekly online talk show, Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game. I'm answering questions from insurancelibrary.com, and today's question is taking a risk tolerance test a good idea? I think it's really important for every investor and saver to always create a financial profile. A financial profile will help you understand your psychological basis for making decisions. Some of it's based on risk, some of it's based on timeline. How long am I going to hold my position? But in taking a risk tolerance test, it really helps you develop an idea of how much pressure or psychological pressure you can take for being inside any kind of one investment or product line. My recommendation is, and they have several out on the web, and I have one as well as myself, I take that test and it tells me, am I a conservative investor, am I a moderate investor, or am I an aggressive investor? It'll help you open up your own mindset on how you should look at investing in savings. Is buying term and investing the difference better than cash value life insurance? Well, when I'm looking at buying term and investing the difference, what am I investing it in? And is that a risk area? And if I'm looking at permanent insurance, am I looking at guarantees and guaranteed returns? Am I looking at using indexing? Am I looking at risk-based insurance like variable? When I put those two together, I want to look at both of those plans and to see which one comes out to be the best. We have programs that we've developed that will measure, is it better to buy term insurance and invest the difference in whatever product line you want to think of, whether it's mutual funds or ETFs, or is it better to keep it inside a contract for the tax deferral and the possible tax-free income? You can compare those things and always know which way to go with a simple program that'll measure it for you. Is converting my term life insurance policy to a permanent policy a good idea? Well, remember, most people buy their term insurance because they're buying it for a time certain event, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and sometimes life changes and all of a sudden liabilities and obligations that I thought were going to be terminal now become permanent. So I want to make sure when I buy my term insurance contract that I have convertibility and that convertibility allows me to go to a really good permanent portfolio. So all of a sudden, if I need to change and I need to make a maneuver, I may have to convert my term to perm because my obligations and liabilities have changed. That's why you need to look at a good term contract that has convertibility options and a good window to convert to a good quality permanent policy. Is cash value from a life insurance contract tax-free? Well, if it's set up as a non-modified endowment contract that complies with a law called TAMRA, and we keep that contract in force for the life of the policy insured. Remember, not the owner of the policy, not the payor of the premium, but the life of the insured. Withdrawals to basis and policy loans of gain can come out tax-free. And as long as that contract, as I've said, is kept in force, though that income is never placed on your 1040, so it's never counted as a taxable event. This is huge because then you don't have any correlation later on in your retirement for Social Security for the provisional income test, where almost all other income sources have to be tested for Social Security to find out if your benefits are taxed or not. Is income from a life insurance policy includable for the Social Security provisional income test? Well, as you know, there are many forms of income, and all those income have to be generated or actually transferred over to the provisional income test to see whether or not Social Security benefits are going to be taxed by it. And of course, there's many forms of income, and most all of those forms of income somehow, some way make it to the provisional income test to test whether your Social Security is going to get taxed. But withdrawals to basis and policy loans of gain on a TAMRA-compliant, non-modified endowment contract kept in force for the life of the policy insured, that never actually is put on your 1040. So the income isn't placed on your 1040, it's not a taxable event. And the best part about that is it doesn't enter into your provisional income test so that your Social Security benefits stay tax-free. If you have any questions, just submit them to www.insurancelibrary.com. It's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. And keeping more of your money is even harder these days with high taxes, fund expenses, and fees for financial advice. And when you consider the uncertainty of the market and the rising cost of living, the purchasing power of your dollar is constantly at risk. But a tax-deferred annuity with an inflation rider can be the most cost-effective way to generate increasing annual income without market volatility. For more information on how annuities may work for you, just email me at steve@thenameofthegame.tv and ask for our free annuity information. I'm answering questions from insurancelibrary.com, and my question today is participating whole life a good investment? Well, many people feel like this is more of a saving technique rather than an investment. It uses interest rates. It's a dividend participating company, especially if it's par. They're going to actually give you a dividend every year. Part of that is just a return of unused premium and also part of their earnings on their portfolio. If you use the base policy, the guaranteed cash values are the guarantees that you have. So if you're into guarantees and you don't like risk and you don't mind long haul investing and long haul savings, which this product is perfect for, this could be something you may want to look at, because that money could come out in withdrawals to basis and policy loans to gain, depending upon how it's set up. That could come out tax-free and be huge as a supplemental retirement alternative. Well, there's many types of annuities. There's single premium annuities, there's fixed annuities, there's indexed annuities, there's variable annuities. You'll have to look at which kind of product that you think is going to fit within your mindset. How do I know my mindset? I need to take a risk tolerance test with it, which is developing a financial profile so I can understand what I want to do with it. But they usually accumulate tax deferred. Single premium annuities will actually give payouts that could be 10 years, it could be 20 years, it even could be lifetime. What you have to understand is that has tax advantages to it, and what you want to do is look at your risk tolerance test to find out if you want to use a fixed annuity, an indexed annuity, or a variable annuity. Is Index Universal Life a good investment? Well, one good thing about this is Index Universal Life will let you participate in indexes. It could be foreign, it could be domestic. And the good thing about that is you get some of the market potential without any of the downside risk. Keep in mind though, even though there's no downside risk in this product, you still have policy expenses to pay based on the current price tag that the carrier is charging in the policy, as well as it has contractual guarantees. You have to look at both of those to see if that's a good deal or not. But I like indexing because you get market participation without the downside risk. You just have to remember that I'm paying for expense loads, and that money could come out tax-free depending upon how you set it up. Is Variable Universal Life a good investment? Well, remember, before you talk about anything that's a market-driven product, you always have to do a risk tolerance test. A risk tolerance test is part of a financial profile. You need to create one to find out, are you a conservative investor? Are you a moderate investor? Are you an aggressive investor? And you have to import in your mindset, what's your timeline of investment? How long are you going to hold it? This is a long haul product, Variable Universal Life. It has expense load that you need to be aware of. You're paying for extra mortality costs, and the actual underlying funds have charges to it. If you feel like that is a huge issue for you, especially if you're in a high tax bracket, it could be something that you may want to look at. But remember, it has market exposure, and you need to do a risk tolerance test before you look at this product. Is selling my life insurance policy a good option for cash? Well, it is an option for cash, and if you've owned it for over 2 years or more, there's probably a little bit easier way to sell that. It is personal property. You do own it, and I say if your reason for having life insurance is still exists, you need to keep it. But if your reason for life insurance, why you bought it, has no longer existing, then you may want to look at it about cash. And there are several companies out there that will buy your policy depending upon how much you put into it, your age, and your actual life expectancy. That's how much you're going to get for that policy. Is it an option? Is it personal property for you to sell? It is, and you should look at this as a last resort, as a backstop for cash reserves in your portfolio. Well, that's our show for today. Keep in mind, before moving forward with any ideas you've heard on our show, always consult your tax advisor or your legal counsel. And as the good Reverend John Wesley once said, make all you can, save all you can, give all you can. I'm Steve Savant. See you next week.